Shalom! Welcome to the very best show that there is out there, brought to you by the best show out there, Baron Hirsch congregation in Memphis, Tennessee. This is MTV Jr. and Memphis TV Jr. Get it? This is going to be a great show that we have today. Get ready for it, okay? But before we start, I want to introduce me and my family to you. My name is Uri Pilachowski, and this is my lovely family. I have a lovely wife, Eliza. She's in the red skirt over there. And I have 6 wonderful children. I have Abigail, who's in the black and white type of skirt that looks like arrows. I don't know how you describe that. Then I have Tamima, who's over here at the end. And then I have Gila right over here. And then I have Naomi all the way at the end over there. I can't even reach her. She's so far away, all the way at the other end. And then I have Tova and Moshe. Those are my 6 wonderful, wonderful children and my family. And let me show you where we live. We live not in Memphis, not in Los Angeles, not in New York, but we live in a place called Mitzpeh Yericho. And if you want to know where it is on the map, so if you look on this map, you see the red balloon right next to Yerushalayim. That's where I live, only 20 minutes from Yerushalayim. And look how beautiful it is here. Do you see all the mountains and the desert and how lovely it is? And it's so quiet here and it's lovely. That's why I love living here. But I can also make great shows for you all the way from over here at Mitzpeh Yericho. And let me tell you what we're going to have on today's show. So first of all, the best part is you can win raffle tickets. If you have raffle tickets, then you can win prizes. That's the incredible part, okay? But then we're also going to have other things. We're going to hear a story about Aharon the Cohen Gadol, and we're going to learn the Hebrew word of the day, and then we're going to learn about today, which happens to be a sad day, the 17th of Tammuz. We're going to learn about the 5 sad things that happened on the 17th of Tammuz. Then we're going to play a game where you can win more tickets, and then we're going to end off with a question where you can win 2 tickets just for answering 1 question. That's what we're going to do today. It's going to be so exciting. Oh, it's going to be amazing, 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 amazing. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to hear a story. We've heard one story about Aharon and making peace with people. Now we're going to hear a second story about Aharon. But just to keep in mind, for later on, you're going to need a pad and paper and a pen so that you can write down things for the answer, okay? But now what we're going to do is we are going to go to a story. So let's go over to a story here. Watch this. I'm going to go over to our story room, okay? And here we go. You ready? Here we go. Okay, I've got a great story for you. We're going to focus on when we see somebody doing something wrong. I'm going to tell you a story about Aharon the Cohen Gadol, who is Moshe Rabbeinu's brother. Now, if you remember, we told a story about Aharon, how if he saw 2 people fighting, what he would do to make shalom, to make peace between them. Well, Aharon was very into making sure that people felt good about themselves, that they felt happy, that they didn't feel bad. And a lot of times when we see somebody doing something wrong, if we tell them that they're doing something wrong, they feel very, very bad. They feel bad they got caught doing something wrong. They felt bad that they did something wrong. And they feel so bad about themselves, about everything. So we try to make sure that people don't feel bad about themselves. That is what we try very, very hard to do. And Aharon was an expert at this. Now, can you imagine? Aharon was the Cohen Gadol. He was one of the greatest Jews alive when he was alive. Now, imagine if Aharon would come up to you and say, hey, you know what you just did? What you just did was wrong. Now, why would Aharon do that in the first place? There's a mitzvah in the Torah called Tochacha. Hashem said, Tocheach et amitecha. What that means is that if you see somebody's about to do something wrong, you have the responsibility, you have the mitzvah to tell them that they're doing something wrong, that they shouldn't do it. But the end of the pasuk says, "Lo tisa alav chet," but you shouldn't have an avera, you shouldn't have a sin when you do it. What does that mean? That means that you have to tell somebody that they're doing something wrong, or if they already did something wrong, that they did something wrong in a very nice way. You can't be mean about it. They have to feel very good afterwards. You can't embarrass them. That's very, very important. So how would you go ahead and do that? You would have to say to somebody, hey, instead of yelling at them, hey, you're not allowed to do that. Or, hey, you know what you just did? That was really wrong, which makes somebody feel bad. You have to go over to them and say, hey, can I tell you something? I feel really bad about having to say this, but I know that you don't want to know that you did something wrong so that next time you don't repeat it, you don't do it again. And that way, the person doesn't feel bad that they did something wrong. Well, when Aaron would see somebody doing something wrong, he would know, even if he went over to them and said it in a nice way, the person would feel so bad because the Cohen Gadol came over and said something to them that they did something wrong. So they wouldn't want to do that. So how would Aaron do it? Aaron would see somebody doing something wrong. Let's imagine Aaron heard somebody say something mean to somebody else. Or Aaron saw from far away, he saw somebody steal something. Let's imagine that. And so Aaron could go over to the person, he could say, hey, you stole something. And it would kill the person inside because that was the Cohen Gadol saying something to them. So instead, Aaron would come over to them. And let's imagine that the person that did something wrong, his name was Yosef. Let's imagine, we just picked a random name. His name is Yosef. And he would go over to Yosef and he'd say, hi, Yosef, how are you? And Yosef would be, wow, Cohen Gadol saying hello to me. So well, I'm okay, good, how are you? And Aaron would start talking to him. How's your job? How's your family? How's your learning doing? Do you daven well? Is there anything I can help you with? And while Aaron was talking to this person, Yosef, who did something wrong, Yosef would think in his mind, he would say, whoa, the Cohen Gadol is talking to me. If the Cohen Gadol knew that I just stole something, Aharon the Cohen Gadol would never talk to me. They would say, I need to earn this. I need to be better so that Aaron wouldn't be embarrassed if he found out what I did wrong, and I wouldn't be embarrassed. And that way, the person would do better, and they would do tshuva, and they would never steal again. Not because Aaron said, hey, I caught you, but instead because Aaron just simply talked to them, and the person felt bad. That's a big lesson for us that Aaron taught us in the way he acted towards other people. That's how we have to act towards other people. We also have to make sure that we're not hurting anybody's feelings. And even when we're doing a mitzvah to tell somebody that they did something wrong, we have to make sure we do it in a way that doesn't hurt their feelings. What an important lesson for us to know. Shalom. Okay, that was a great, great story. And now let's go back to, we have to go back to our show background so that we have our show background. Now we're going to go and we're going to play a game together. So you need to get your pad of paper and your pencil, okay, or a pen or anything like that. And we're going to learn the Hebrew word of the day today is karit, which means a pillow. Karit means a pillow. It's what you sleep on, pillow, okay? Now, what do you do with this word? Write the word down on your pad. I just dropped my pen. Holy cow. Okay, I see that went flying. Okay, so you want to write down karit on your pen and then on your pad of paper. What am I on your pen? I am so silly today. Okay, and then you're going to send it to this email address. And if you send it to this email address, then you can get a raffle ticket and win a prize. Okay, the next thing we're going to learn is a little sad because today is a sad day. Today is the 17th of Tammuz. It's a very, very sad day. And we're going to learn about the 5 things that make this a sad day. Okay, so here we go. Let's go over back to our story room. Okay, and here we go. Okay, today is actually a very sad day in Jewish history. It is the 17th day of Tammuz, what we call Shiva Sar Tammuz. And Shiva Sar Tammuz is a sad day. A lot of your parents are, or maybe even older siblings, are going to be fasting today. They're not going to be eating, and they're not going to do fun things. And for the next 3 weeks, we're going to be a little sad because this is the 3 weeks, this is the time period of the year that we remember once in Yerushalayim we used to have a Beit HaMikdash, and then it was destroyed. Now it was destroyed by our enemies, but it was really destroyed because we weren't following the Torah. And as a punishment, Hashem destroyed the Beit HaMikdash and sent us out of Eretz Yisrael. That's why a lot of us don't live in Eretz Yisrael today, because many, many, many years ago, 2,000 years ago, we were punished and sent out of Israel. We weren't allowed to go back into Israel. Hashem said, you have to leave Israel, and we left Eretz Yisrael. So, and today, on the 17th of Tammuz, we remember that, and we realize that there's still no Beit HaMikdash. Even people like me who live in Israel are sad, because even though we get to live in Israel, we don't have a Beit HaMikdash, and that's what we really want. We want Mashiach to come, and we want to build the Beit HaMikdash so that we could do all of the mitzvot and not have any problems of doing mitzvot. But that wasn't the only thing that happened on the 17th of Tammuz, on Shiva Savar Tammuz. There are actually 5 bad things that happened today, and we're going to explain all 5 things. We wish none of these things had happened, but all 5 of these things happened. So let's look at what they were. So the first thing is, you might have learned about this in Chumash, but do you remember when we went to Har Sinai? And Har Sinai was a place where it was an amazing time. Hashem had thunder and lightning and a loud voice, and Hashem had Moshe Rabbeinu on top of Har Sinai, and this was probably going to be one of the greatest moments of our entire history. Really, there wasn't going to be anything as good as Har Sinai. Getting the Torah at Har Sinai was incredible. And Hashem gave Moshe Rabbeinu what are called 2 luchot. You can see them in the picture. They're one solid piece of stone, and on it was the 10 commandments, the Aseret HaDibrot, 10 mitzvos, like Kibbud Avim, like honoring your parents and keeping Shabbat and believing in Hashem. And they were the 10 commandments. And they gave Moshe, and Hashem gave Moshe the 10 commandments on Har Sinai. He also taught Moshe all the other 603 commandments for a total of 613 commandments. He taught them all to Moshe, okay? And Moshe Rabbeinu was on Har Sinai, and he went up to Har Sinai. But while he was there, Bnei Israel got very confused, and they did something very bad. They started to pray to a Egel HaZahav, the golden calf. They made this statue out of gold, and instead of davening to Hashem, they started davening to this golden calf. And when Moshe Rabbeinu was supposed to come down from Har Sinai, he heard all this noise coming from the bottom of the mountain. And he said to Hashem, what's all this noise? And Hashem said, Bnei Israel is doing something very bad. They are doing Avodah Zarah. They're worshiping a golden calf. And Moshe got so upset, he took his luchot and he smashed them down on the ground. And that was a very bad thing. Hashem said that he did the right thing by doing that, but it was very sad that the luchot that Moshe Rabbeinu got from Hashem, he had to break because Bnei Israel were doing such a bad Aveirah, such a bad sin, and worshiping something instead of Hashem, davening to something instead of Hashem, and something that they made. It was a statue of a cow that they made out of gold. So because they made it, and because it wasn't real, and it was such a bad Aveirah, Moshe broke the luchot, and that happened today on the 17th of Tammuz, over 3,000 years ago. But it was such a bad thing that we still remember it today, and we still are sad about it today. So that's one of the 5 things that happened. Let's look at another thing, the second thing that happened on the 17th of Tammuz. That's another reason why we're sad, and another reason why a lot of people aren't eating today, okay? And that was the Korban Tamid. Now, what you're looking at a picture here, all these men in white are Kohanim. And this thing that they're standing on is called the Mizbeach. If you remember, we learned about the Mizbeach in a previous show. Once upon a time, we learned about the Mizbeach. And on the Mizbeach were all these different fires. You can see the fires. And the Kohanim would take the korbanot, they would chop them up after they killed the animal, right? And you can see they would put the pieces onto the Mizbeach, and they would offer it as a korban to Hashem. Now, there are a lot of different korbanot that are given. A lot. We don't have time to go through all of them. But every morning, right when the sun came out, there's a time where the sun, I see this every morning, the sun goes right, like the sun looks like a ball, and it comes up right above the mountains. If you have mountains where you live, so you can see, it comes right above the mountains. And at that point where it peaks above the mountains, which you can see inside the Beis HaMikdash, this picture is from the Beis HaMikdash. So as soon as it peaks over, that's when they would give the first korban of the day. That was called the korban tamid. Okay, korban tamid shel boker. And they also gave one in the afternoon. They gave a korban in the afternoon, and that was called the korban tamid shel bein harabayim. That was given late in the afternoon. So it's two korbanos that they would give every single day. And these korbanos weren't given by one person; they were given on behalf for all of Bnei Israel. Every year, Bnei Israel, every single Jew, would give chatzi shekel, half a shekel, to the Beit HaMikdash, and they would combine all the money, and they would buy all the korbanot and all the wood for the Beit HaMikdash. They would buy it all for the korban tamid. So every Jew had a tiny, 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 tiny portion of the korban tamid, and it was given by the Kohanim on behalf of the entire nation and everybody. Well, on the 17th of Tammuz was the day when Bnei Israel, when they came to destroy the Beis HaMikdash, when there was 3 weeks before they destroyed the Beis HaMikdash, that's when they didn't allow any animals to come into the Beit HaMikdash anymore, into Yerushalayim, and therefore they had no animals to give the korban tamid. It was a sad day. That's when the korban tamid stopped. Okay, let's look at the third bad thing that happened. Somebody named Apostomus burnt a Sefer Torah. Okay, now this is very, very sad. A Sefer Torah to us isn't just a scroll with some writing on it. It's even more special than all the svarim that we have at home. A Sefer Torah to us tells us how much Hashem cares about us. It tells us how much Hashem cares about us, because Hashem wouldn't give us the Torah if it wasn't for the fact that Hashem cared about us and wanted us to have something special. So we don't all have our own luchot like Moshe Rabbeinu had in that he brought down from Har Sinai, but we can all have a Sefer Torah. In fact, every man during his lifetime has to write a Sefer Torah. Really, that's one of the 613 mitzvot, to write your own Sefer Torah. And when we see a Sefer Torah, we're reminded of the fact that Hashem created the world and Hashem gave us the Torah, and it tells us how special. Do you know that if a Sefer Torah drops on the floor, some people have the custom of fasting, of not eating for 40 straight days. They eat at night, but for 40 straight days, they don't eat during the day. They go hungry, because it's so sad when a Torah falls, because the only way a Torah falls, sometimes there's accidents, but usually accidents happen because we're not careful enough. Now you can imagine if just a Sefer Torah falling on the floor for just a second makes us fast for 40 days. Imagine how bad it is if a Sefer Torah is burnt. Imagine the tears that we would cry and how sad we would be. And even though Sefer Torah was burnt, it was almost 2,000 years ago that this happened. It still became such a sad day that we fast and we're sad on this day. Okay, the next thing, this was unbelievable. They put an idol, a statue of what they thought was they thought there's a lot of Hashems, there's a lot of gods in the world. It's ridiculous. It's avodah zarah. We don't believe that at all. And then they would make statues that they would say, this is what our God looks like. We know Hashem doesn't look like anything, because Hashem doesn't have a face, he doesn't have a body, he doesn't have a form. So we know that that's not what Hashem really is. And they would look at this idol and they would say that's the idol of Zeus, who was called. And they put this idol, they say that this was like their God, and they put it inside the Beit HaMikdash. Unbelievable, so sad in the Beit HaMikdash. But the saddest thing that happened today was that the walls around Yerushalayim, when the Babylonians and then after them the Romans came to destroy Yerushalayim, they broke through the walls of Yerushalayim. And 3 weeks later, they got to the Beit HaMikdash. There were walls around Yerushalayim. They're not the same walls that are there today. And those walls protected Yerushalayim, but their enemies broke through them on the 17th of Tammuz. And that was very, very sad. a very, very sad day. And that was the 5th bad thing that happened on the 17th of Tammuz. So because 5 bad things happened today, we fast today, we're sad today, but we hope that this will be the last 17th of Tammuz. Because when Mashiach comes, we're not going to be sad on this day, we're actually going to be happy. Okay, shalom. Okay, that was a important thing to learn, because today is that day, the 17th of Tammuz. Okay, let's look now at, hold on, let's go back and we're going to play a game. Okay, it's going to be a memory game we're going to play. And let's get to the game. Don't forget to get your piece of paper and pad out, and then you're going to send the answers. I'm going to tell you 5 things. You're going to remember all 5 things, and then you're going to send them to this email address. Okay, you ready? So here we go. I'm going to tell you the 5 things. Number 1, Jerusalem. Number 2, tablets. Number 3, walls. Number 4, peace. Number 5, fast day. Okay, those are the 5 things that you have to remember. And if you remember them and send them to this email address, then you can get raffle tickets. And with the raffle tickets, you can win prizes. Okay, now we're going to end off with our last question. If you get this question right, you can send it to me at this email address, and then you win 2 raffle tickets. You ready? Get ready to write down. You can ask your parents for help if you want. What's this week's Parsha? If you send me an email and tell me what this week's Parsha is, you can win 2 raffle tickets. Okay, don't forget that if you go to Shul on Shabbos, you can then get and see the newsletter, the kids' newsletter. You can get jokes, you can get Divrei Torah, you can have games, you can win prizes. So many great things in the newsletter. You don't want to miss it. Make sure you go and get it. Shabbat Shalom. That is the end of our show. Shalom, everybody.